finally, if you don't mind, India saw the biggest number of new cases in a day ever yesterday. Are there any plans to send any of the U.S. stockpile of AstraZeneca vaccine or any vaccine to India?
Well, let me first say that the United States offers our deepest sympathy to the people of India who are clearly suffering during this global pandemic, and we are working closely with Indian officials at both political and experts level to identify ways to help address the crisis. We've made vaccine cooperation a big priority, including with our Quad partners. India is one of our Quad partners, of course, in discussing vaccine creation and distribution for the future. We've also provided $4 billion to COVAX, and from the earliest stages of the pandemic, we've provided India with emergency relief supplies, medical consumables, pandemic training for Indian state and local health officials, and ventilators, which has been part of our effort over the course of time, including $1.4 billion in health assistance to India to help them prepare for pandemics in the future and deal with the current one we're facing. So there are ongoing discussions. I don't have anything more to preview, but we are in touch with them at a range of levels about how we can help them get through this period of time.
Thanks, Jen.
Sure thing. Go ahead.
Back to the infrastructure negotiations. Yep. We saw the White House respond pretty positively, or at least consider Joe Manchin's proposal to raise the corporate tax rate to 25 instead of 28%, as was the initial proposal. So should we read this conversation about raising the corporate tax rate to 39.5% as more of a starting offer?
Well, the president's proposal for the American Jobs Plan was about modernizing and making a historic investment in our infrastructure. The tax component was about how to pay for it. We're very open to a range of options, and he has some lines in the sand we've talked about, including not having the American people pay for it, or it not being on the backs of the American people. It relates to the capital gains rates and the top margins that you've seen reported out there, the president's bottom line is that people making under $400,000 a year will not have their taxes go up. So if you look at these proposed numbers, which are consistent with what he talked about on the campaign trail when he was running for president, what I can say is that it will only affect people making more than $1 million a year. That's 0.3% of taxpayers, or 3 out of every 1,000 taxpayers. That's even as the top 1% saw their net worth rise by $4 trillion in the middle of a historic pandemic. So he has some bottom lines of where he will not budge fast, right, on individual numbers and who will be impacted, but he's also open to discussion.
We're hearing that the White House is also considering in the proposal ending the child tax credit, even though we've seen progressives
You mean extending it?
Phasing it out?
Yeah. Well,
is that wrong?
It's not permanent currently.
Exactly.
So
are you
mean
guys
extending it or making it permanent?
Is that the position, the definite position? Progressives and plenty of moderates also say that it should be extended permanently. Is that the position?
Sure. What I was trying to clarify, I apologize, is that it's not currently permanent. So the question is whether it will be permanent.
Whether that'll be a red line, like you said, or a definite part of the proposal.
And the president absolutely feels that the child tax credit provides essential funding and help to people who need help the most. That's why in the American Rescue Plan, he increased the child tax credit from $2,000 to $3,000 per child and to $3,600 for children under the age of 6. And the expansion was the single largest policy contributor to cutting child poverty, as is evidenced by the chart we had up. We're looking into the mechanisms and the costs of expanding the child tax credit, and that certainly is under consideration for the American Families Plan.